Morning, everyone. My name is Faith Eason from Focal Safety Management. Today, I'm your trainer. This training is on driver safety. The duration of the training is between 10 and 15 minutes. We have templates and other training resources that can assist you to better understand the program. We also welcome your comments and your questions, which you can send those to us at the end of each training session. Driver safety. Most workplaces require of us to either drive to work, or otherwise we might have to drive from, client to client, depending on what services we provide or what our role is in that particular business or organization. So the learning outcomes today is our obligations under the law, accountability and responsibility, reporting an accident, mobile and visual units. So under the Work Health and Safety Act of 2011, it says that the PCBU, and for recap, PCBU is actually a person conducting a business or undertaking is to do what is reasonable and practicable to protect the health and safety in the workplace. This law also requires that workers must not cause harm to themselves or others. So what is our accountability and our responsibility in terms of driver safety? So what I will cover is, if your organization or your business has company vehicles, we'll go through that. We'll talk about licensing and log records, the importance of those, scheduled maintenance, and general driver safety. Some workplaces will have company vehicles, and these vehicles might be allocated to staff, depending on whether they're in a managerial role or otherwise staff that provide the different services to their clients. And from that, a workplace should place expectations or have a policy developed around that, so that staff are clear on the requirements or the provisions in using that vehicle. So it might be that that organization is happy for them to use it as a private vehicle, where they might take their family, use it as for family use, but they might have limitations as well, where they allow them to just use it for work use only. So in any organization, it's important for them to be able to outline that in their policies and their procedures for their staff. For any staff that are using company vehicles, it is extremely important that they hold the correct license in terms of their driver's license, and to make sure that their license is always current. For example, if a staff member has any demerit points and one of their roles is to basically drive a company vehicle, it is extremely important for them to inform management or the supervisors of the demerit points. One of the other issues that have come up from time to time is where someone has been caught by the police driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and basically maybe they got a court case coming. Often they'll feel tempted to continue to drive the vehicle because that is part of their job. And if they're unable to drive the vehicle, that means their family, they have no income to be able to support their family. But again, realize that if you have what they call the DUI and you continue to drive a vehicle, then then you are breaching the law, which means, again, you can be fined by the law, but again, you in breach of the organization or the business policies or procedure. So that is really important, to go back to your supervisor, see if there's any options for you to do other work, or perhaps they could even organize for you to go with an extra person who does the driving, and then you then can continue to do the actual work. And finally, when you look at the log records, I find often it's so easy not to complete the records, but realize as well the log records can be of importance, because it could be protecting yourself and just making sure that that you have covered yourself in terms of using the vehicle and following the rules of the road. Maintenance on a vehicle is extremely important. Often in workplaces, the responsibility of ensuring that the maintenance is done is usually left probably to the admin person to be able to maybe contact you as that particular person that drives a vehicle and say, look, we need to have the vehicle put in service. But at the same time, as the driver of that vehicle, it is also important that you become aware, and you are often you often maybe go through a general checklist in terms of driving the vehicle. We know today there's a lot of cyclists on the road, so we too should be, mindful of them and just ensure that we live in that 1 meter distance from them as we drive past them. One of the most important things is understanding what is required in an accident. So if you want to just take a minute to just quickly write down, what procedure would you follow if you were in an accident? So if you want to just take that break and just quickly write that down. So when you're in a motor vehicle accident, one of the first things, I suppose most instinctive thing to do is, has anyone been injured? That includes yourself. And sometimes you're in shock. You don't quite realize, maybe you got a bit of whiplash. You don't feel it there and then because you're in shock. But I suppose more than anything, sometimes if people got more severe and physical wounds that, probably are more visible, and I suppose that's what you can judge at the time. But the second most important thing is, depending on the level of the severity of the accident, you need to call the police or and the ambulance, just depending on the circumstances. When it's just a minor accident, they often just ask you to give an assessment. It might be that you just brush past another vehicle, and perhaps that the repair work is under $2,000, small, no one's injured as such, because maybe you had that accident on very low speed. So it might just be that you'd need to report that, and they often say that should be reported in 24 hours. But if it's work-related, it's always good to get in touch with the office ASAP, let them know what's happened, give them the details, of the accident, street-wise, whatever you need to give them, so that they got enough information and they're aware of what's happened. And depending on the severity, it might mean that maybe you might have to go back to the office, or you might have to stop work. So let them know what you need to do. But at the same time, remember, you need to take all the details from the other could be the second vehicle, it might be a number of vehicles involved. Take all the details, or as much details as you can, in terms of the driver's licenses, the person involved, any other persons involved, if there's passengers, etc. Otherwise, if you need to take the vehicle registration and any other details possible that are needed. And as I say, we did say, ring the office, let them know of what's happening. If you have to go and see the doctor straight away, go and see the doctor. But that's really important. And then as soon as you possibly can, it might mean that you have to go back into the office, complete claim forms for the insurer, whether it's workers' compensation or whether it's insurer plus workers' compensation. So those are more important. But I would also advise you to really maybe just look up a little bit more details on maybe have a bit of a checklist and see exactly what other details you might be required to take when you are in a motor vehicle accident. So driver at fault. I suppose the first thing when I looked at this picture, I thought to myself, so often when there's some sort of accident, you always have many spectators there. But what spectators forget is that there could be a hazard there. And particularly in this picture, you can see that basically this man has put himself in danger, where that one vehicle could topple over him and injure him. So again, just being mindful of where there is a motor vehicle accident to make sure that you make it as safe as possible. Put yourself in a position where you're not putting yourself at risk of another accident or putting someone else in that position too. But where a driver at fault, often if you drive in a work vehicle, and if you are not following the road rules and you are at fault, that means that it might mean that you then will be liable for any financial damage to the other vehicle, for fines involved. It will actually fall right back onto you. So really be mindful that you follow the rules of the road. When it comes to traffic fines, it's extremely important that you understand that the workplace will expect that you will be the one to pay that fine. It might mean that they initially will pay the fine. Maybe they still have to investigate to see who was driving that vehicle. So mobile and visual units have raised a lot of questions. We know that there's a lot of accidents that have happened because people are on their mobiles, texting or distracted in one way or another. So ensure that those are mounted. If they're not mounted, then you need to actually drive off the road, park on the side of the road to be able to answer any calls that you receive. Some modern vehicles have the Bluetooth, which is excellent, which means that you can automatically answer those without a problem. So in 2007, about 45,000 Australian drivers crashed while using mobile phones, and 145,000 had a near miss. Texting while driving is one of Australia's prime culprits, with mobile phones being the #1 suspect in driver distraction. So we know that it's 10, almost 11 years since that date. We have more mobile phones. We know that quite recently there's a young person that was driving a work vehicle, and they've actually drove straight into the RBT, and the policeman lost his foot and the other one was quite badly injured. So this is even more prevalent now, despite updates in terms of Bluetooth in vehicles, etc. So yeah, it would be good to get new stats and just see exactly what the new stats say. So these stats, I find these stats very interesting, and I just thought that maybe we could work through these. So the first one, it says 2012, there were 370 fatalities, 11, which was 11% increase from the previous year. In 2013, there were 335, which was 19% less than the previous year. The highest fatalities are drivers and 10% of passengers, and also motorcyclists. They say from the gender perspective, it's 70% male and 30% female. They say they're in the age group of 17 to 25 and 40 to 57. When I often read this part of this, these stats, the question that I ask is, why do you think that this age group where you have the fatalities up there from 17 to 25, and then you got the gap, which is from 26 to 39, and then you got the next age group is 40 to 59. Some people will basically say, well, the 17 to 25, they say, well, suppose these people are still learning how to drive. Maybe they got a little bit of ego. That's what they say. But then I asked the question, well, why is it between the ages of 26 and 39 that there's less fatalities? And often they say, well, perhaps these people are at that stage in their life where they got young children and they're just a little bit more responsible. And then why 40 to 59? So we don't know. Maybe it's because people are just becoming of that age. And what surprised me was that of the fatalities, 80% were in the country and only 20% were in the metro. So there were some changes in the workers' compensation. So that was around 2013. So what the scheme agent decided to do, they decided they would no longer pay for workers or anyone that was in a motor vehicle accident to and from work would not be covered under workers' compensation. There were a few concessions, and that were like for service people. I think it was mainly like those in public services that got the concession. I suppose the most important thing that we really need to look at is, as I say, it's seldom that we are in motor vehicle accidents, but again, just be able to go back, look at options of what you might do if you're in an accident, look at options, look at possibilities of if you drive at fault, how does that work? So again, sort of being having more information on that will be a lot more helpful for you. Also, make sure you understand what is the workplace policy and procedure. So if you are, if you use a company vehicle, really get clarity around what is the policy around that. So in other words, and what accountability do I have for that? Again, if you can send me any comments you have, that would really be good. That will help me to look at improving the presentations that I give in terms of any safety, and otherwise, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to find the answers for you and help you that way. Thank you very much for today, and I hope you have a great day.